Hi guys, this is Marubozu Research Group, and currently Bitcoin is trading at $16,666. And in this video, we're going to tell you why and when Bitcoin is going to go down to $9,000. This video is absolutely amazing, so please stay tuned and watch until the end. If you like this kind of content, please put your like, smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and please leave all your comments below this video. This is going to blow your mind.
So into the charts we go. After a couple little upticks in Bitcoin on the daily chart, we are seeing a little bit of a pullback today. You can clearly see this is today's daily candle. This was the last couple. But bottom line is we're still making what we would consider to be a flag pattern. So let's talk about flags. So when it's basically an upside down flag pattern, generally this is more of a bearish kind of chart setup, right? You can see here's your flagpole, here's your flag right here. And again, that would be considered bearish. Now, again, that goes in line with the likelihood that we will head down to that 12 to 13,000, maybe 13.5 even, somewhere in that vicinity before seeing a significant bounce. Now, once we get to that level, I actually see even though I don't think it's the low, and I still, I've gone on record now and said 9,000-ish, give or take, is kind of my bogey level for where I think Bitcoin will bottom out. But even if we, don't get down there in a short amount of time, I do think at some point we retrace to go back into here. So what I could see us doing, and let me just erase these lines so we keep the chart as clear as possible, but basically here's your flag pattern, and then this would be your next stopping point. Let's go here. And basically you can see right here, this pivot high, this area right here, that's right around that 13,000 marker. And then this high here is right around that 12,000 marker, right? So that's where I'm getting my 13 to 12K, is that this area will be unbelievably big support. Now, like I said, I don't think it's the low. I still think we're going to go to the longer term trend line on the Bitcoin chart, which actually goes all the way back. I mean, you could probably draw this line even further back, but the easiest way for me to draw it very clearly is going back to 2017. This was your bull run in Bitcoin in 2017. Here's your low in 2018-19. Then here was your COVID low. And it makes a lot of sense that Bitcoin, just like so many charts, crypto, stocks, commodities, they always want to come back to their long-term trend line, their long-term trend. And what would that be on Bitcoin? It would be coming back to this trend line here. So in that case, it makes a lot of sense. We would eventually see a move down to wherever this trend line is. Now notice it is upsloping, right? So over here, if you go back to 2020, it was around 4,500. Now it's all the way at around 8,000, maybe a little bit above 8,000. So if my target of a bottom in Bitcoin is correct of 5 to 6 months, that low will be put in. What that tells us is that we'll probably be to about 8,500 to 9,000 in that period of time where that trend line is going to be, and that coincides with my kind of analysis that would be a bottoming level on the cryptocurrency. Now, where is Solana at that point? Where is Avalanche? Where is Polkadot? Where is Cardano? Where is Ethereum? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I do think that at least Ethereum and Bitcoin survive this. It's hard to know for sure if some of the other ones do, but I do think if Solana survives it, it is so discounted that you could see literally 300-400% upside in that in a very short amount of time. Now, obviously, we have to get back into a bullish market for that to happen, but in terms of upside, that one, if it survives, and let's be clear, I don't know, no, I'm not going to pretend to know, and let's go to the Solana chart, but if that did survive, in the very least, here's almost 100% upside just to get back to this retrace level right here, right around $28. It's trading at 14. That would be basically 100% right there. So again, it's one of those things where you have to weigh the risk reward, right? With Bitcoin, yeah, it could go to 12 to 13,000, maybe 9, but essentially at this point, that's 50% downside or less, even if it gets to that 9 level, where I think again we probably put in a bottom. On Solana, the risk is it goes basically to zero, right? So you obviously have 100% risk, but with that risk comes massive reward. Just on a technical bounce back to this line here, you're talking about 100% move to the upside, right? So it's much different versus Bitcoin retracing back to that trend line's a very small percentage move. So again, this is where as a trader you start to kind of gauge risk versus reward. What am I risking on the downside, and then what if it plays out to the upside am I making in terms of return? And this is where you also have to figure in percentage allocation, right? So for me, I'm willing to take on a risk of losing 100% if I'm going to make 3, 4, 500% upside, but I would only take that amount of risk on, let's say, 4%, 5% of my portfolio, right? Versus in something that could drop like Bitcoin, but eventually will grind up and is the safest crypto to be in, I'm much more willing to put 25, 35, 45, heck, 50% of my portfolio in Bitcoin, because again, the risks of it going to zero, even going down, let's say sub 10 is somewhat on the smaller side. So again, that's getting into more complex, not complex trading stuff, but it's getting to more the advanced level of a trader who really is not only just looking at charts and levels, but then isolating down what are my probabilities that this goes down X percent versus how much could it go up X percent, and then figuring out how much of your portfolio are you willing to risk. And that's why I give you guys the percentages in the trade signals, right? It's because I want you guys to understand that, I'm not putting 50% of my portfolio in Solana. It's too risky. So for me, as I said, 4.5%, that's the most. All right. This way, if it goes to zero, I lose 4.5% of my portfolio. On $100,000, I still have $95,500 left. That's not the end of the world. I can make that up in a couple trades very, very easily. Now, again, you put a lot in, then you can't make that up. And that's the key. As a good trader who's going to build wealth over time, you want to be fully aware of this kind of thing. All right, anyways, so going back to Bitcoin, we kind of discovered, or we isolated down, this is going to be resistance here. If it got through that, then we'll start talking about what the next points of interest would be. On the way down, if we break this low at around 15,600, 700, which is the low here, then I do think you're headed towards that 13-ish area, somewhere in that vicinity. Okay? Let's look at Ethereum. And again, Ethereum I view as the second safest crypto. It doesn't mean it's absolutely safe. There's no sure thing in investing. We know that even in stocks, even in anything, there's no pure no risk trade. Everything has trading risk involved with it, or investing risk. Okay, so what we're seeing is we still have this reversal candle here, and we're still consolidating. Now, it's not pretty consolidation, but as long as this low holds, that's the low that you want to trade against. Now, having said that, we have resistance here and then resistance here. So those will be your 2 points of resistance. Right now, again, to me, I look at this and I say, okay, it's a little bit of bullish consolidation, and granted, it hasn't confirmed to the downside, but this is still going to be minor resistance here. Absolutely minor resistance. This is going to be your support. And again, considering the crypto markets, you want to err on the side of caution. Like, you have to ask yourself, and this is a good risk-reward assessment in terms of talking about this stuff, is you could get in here at 1208, and your upside's going to be 1340, but on the downside, you're risking 1208 or 1206 to about 1075. And yes, this is slightly bullish, but is it worth the risk at this point, the fact that it's hovering down there? I don't know. For me, it's not. Otherwise, I'd be in the trade, right? It's just not quite worth it. I don't like the risk-reward setup. And even in all fairness, the bullish consolidation is not the prettiest. Sharp drop here, a little bit of up, now it's moving down. It's not the cleanest of patterns. And what you'll notice is, and this is some little educational tidbit, is that the cleaner the chart setup, the higher the probability it plays out. The messier it gets, the less likely, the less probability it plays out. And again, that's just something you learn over time. You like clean setups. The cleaner the setup, the more likely it allures money into that trade that then catapults it to the upside in the case of a bullish setup. All right. Let's go to Cardano real quick. Cardano, again, same kind of thing. Inside bar, little bounce, little down move. Really on Cardano, the only thing you care about here is this trend line, right? This channel. So this is your support down here, right about 31 cents. I continue to kind of be intrigued by potentially adding to this position at this point. Again, I'm about 10 cents or so out of the money. It's not a big move, a little less than 10 cents, I believe. But, again, I guess percentage-wise, that's actually about 25%, but in the scheme of Cardano, that's nothing. Like one good day in crypto, Cardano's up 25%. So you kind of have to garner that kind of understanding about what percentages mean in crypto versus, if you're an Apple and you're down 25%, yeah, it's kind of a hefty move. I mean, you need a big move. It's not going to happen in one day in Apple versus in crypto, it actually can happen in one day. But either way, I think if it gets down to about 30 cents, that would be where I would be interested in adding a little bit to it, bringing my dollar cost average down. Looking at Polkadot real quick here. Polkadot was doing pretty well, and then today it's kind of losing a little of that. Overall, again, same thing, a little bit of a reversal candle, sideways chop, not the prettiest in terms of levels to watch. So I want to draw a few new trend lines in. So obviously we have this down-sloping one, but that's really quite a bit down. One of the trend lines I want to bring into the chart is now this one here. So you have this connector from this pivot to this pivot. Almost looks like a fan, kind of a fan type thing starting to develop here. And then ultimately I also want to drag and drop a trend line from here to here. Okay, so again, I think that's another level. So this would be support, which is basically this low. I'm going to get rid of this one at this point. We don't need that in there. I'm just trying to keep the chart as clean as I can. So I think this kind of keeps it cleaner. So this is support, and then if you get through here, this line down here, which I can't really show more of, but that's fine, would be your next support. Resistance-wise, if we start heading towards 7, it needs to break above this trend line, and then it can move up to this 950 area there. In the near term, do I think that's likely? No. I mean, let's be honest. Until we get regulation, and I want to be clear about this, and again, I've really been pounding this kind of thought process in because it always bugged me a year ago when, I would bring up how I thought the industry needed regulation. And, everyone was like, no, crypto's at 69, Bitcoin's at 69,000. We don't want the government in here. And I understand that point. You don't want the government involved. And then you're like, wait a minute, but without some regulations on transparency and reporting, you have people stealing money, you have shady things going on like with FTX, and then investors are losing their money left and right. You have to have at least some baseline of regulation where there are rules about what you can do with your client funds, right? I mean, in my opinion, it should be a one-to-one reserve. If you're holding a Bitcoin, then the exchange should be just holding it one-to-one. They shouldn't be leveraging out your Bitcoin. They shouldn't be being able to take the money in your account and put it somewhere else, even when they're showing in your account that you have money, but they're over-leveraging your money for their gain. I mean, there has to be a structure for this, and I do think that if there's one positive about FTX, and it's a horrendous situation, just like Voyager, just like Celsius, just like, all these other ones, Terra Luna, for instance, it's that I think this is the straw that broke the camel's back that's going to get the government or the SEC to get in here and lay some groundwork. They're going to probably require audits, at least yearly, if not quarterly audits. They should. Think about that, folks. Think about if we had audits on FTX on a quarterly basis. Do you think that any of this shady stuff where, SBF was lending money to his other company and leveraging out, and his other company was holding X billions of dollars in FTT token? And I mean, you wouldn't, at least it would be open there for the public to see, which is all I'm asking for. I'm asking for transparency. Show us the books. Show us what's going on behind the scenes. Open it up. That's, in the very least, that's what the bare minimum should be, and that's what all of these companies, these tokens should be doing. And then you see essentially who's wearing pants and who's not. They say when the tide goes out, you see who's wearing a bathing suit and who's not, right? And that's the truth, right? And you gotta get to that point in cryptocurrency, especially if I'm an investor. I want to make money in crypto. Right? I think we're all, obviously you're part of this service. You all want to make money. We're all here to make money. Well, you know what? The only way you're drawing in big money that's going to drive Bitcoin back to 69,000 and then 100, then 250, then 500 is when big money decides that it's safe enough to invest. And after FTX, there is no way any big institution is going to devote any significant amount of capital to any crypto project. They can't. Not until there's audits, not until there's actual certain rules and regulations there. And therefore, honestly, crypto has limited upside over the next few months until we get this out. Now, the positive is once you get this framework out, there is a ton of money on the sidelines that wants to invest. Tons. And that's where the next bull market starts, folks. And I know think about how whacked out this is. And, everyone was like anti-regulation. And now, in reality, you've had so much shady stuff going on in the crypto markets that the only way you're getting a bull market back and Bitcoin to rip and these other cryptos to go up is when you get regulation. Crazy. I mean, it's just crazy how it kind of turns around. And I think people have to realize that. I think you have to just be honest and say, unfortunately, when left without regulation, people do shady things, and it sucks. and it absolutely sucks, but that's the way it is. And so you do need at least a base level of regulation in the market. All right. All right, so that's my just 2 cents on that. Let's look at Avalanche here and see what's going on there. Avalanche, again, small down day today. Again, I have this level down on Avalanche here. That's going to be epic support. I think this level on Avalanche could coincide with 12 to 13,000 on Bitcoin. If it were a dump, this would be from 13 to about $9. So that would be a $4 drop on that, which could easily coincide. We remember Avalanche moves a lot more, so Avalanche could, be there as Bitcoin hits that 12, 13 and change level. And again, folks, at this stage, I've decided that I'm going to, because Bitcoin's so close to a longer term low, I'm going to just slowly add to Bitcoin as it comes down. Probably my next add will be in that 13,000 range. Bring my dollar cost average in, because once we bounce, once you get regulation, Bitcoin to me is going to quickly, now I don't think it's going to make new all-time highs in a super fast manner, but I do think it snaps back very quickly back above 20 and maybe even to 30 to 40, okay? So again, for me, it's more, at least with Bitcoin. The other ones we have to see about, right? That's why they're tiny positions. But with Bitcoin specifically, I think that the smarter move here is to not exit and then hope that it goes down, because what if we're wrong and all of a sudden the bottom is put in on a quick drop overnight or something, but instead just accumulate. We know that Bitcoin, again, is going to be here, at least I believe it's going to be here for the next 100 years, 1,000 years, whatever it is. So we're now close enough to the lows where you can do that. All right. Let me see what else we have going on here. Let's take a look at Quant real quick. I've been kind of tuning into that one. That's bounced a little bit. Again, it did hit this support here. By the way, next support on Quant would be right around $75. If we had another big dump, that would be where you would want to buy it. Next, let's look at Matic here, see what Matic's doing. Matic's coming down just a little bit here as well. And again, for me, Matic is a buy around 70 cents. For me, probably not until 70 cents would I touch it, but that would be a level to watch on that one. All right, and I just want to we'll go over a couple other tokens here, a couple other coins. We looked at, I don't think I'm going to look at Dogecoin at this point. Ripple, we could take a quick look. I looked at Ripple, I believe, yesterday. Ripple, again, hit here. We'll see if it rallies back to here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. There's a small chance of a snapback to the scene of the crime here, but then that's going to be epic resistance. So we'll watch and see how that plays out. And then let me see what else we have on here. Tron, we get to look at Tron real quick. TRX, USD. Yeah, Tron doesn't look, I guess you could make a case it hit double bottom here, but that's really gotten beaten down. What's interesting about Tron, I think the next leg lower takes you to about 3.6 cents right here. A lot of support right here, but it's right around 3.5, 3.6 cents. But that could be a little bit of a swing trade right there on Tron there. How about Uniswap? Let's take a look at that one. I've traded that one before. Uniswap, you got to give it credit. It held this area. It broke but never confirmed. Held here, bounced up. If it breaks this line and really confirms, then you're heading down to about the $3.50 marker right here, which would be your next area of support. We can get rid of this line at this point. Let me put in that low pivot just so we have that in there for future. So there it is. That would be your next level of support there. Litecoin, again, to me, Litecoin is essentially, Bitcoin in a sense, although it actually held up decently well. I got to give Litecoin credit. It did kind of kiss this area right here. Look at that low and then snapped up. Again, be interesting to see if it comes down. Eventually, probably testing this level of $40 would be a very key level on that. Zooming out on this, remember, this got as low as like $26 back in 2020, right around that COVID collapse. So I don't know if it'll go back there, but that'll be interesting to watch. I certainly think if Bitcoin's going to 9, then you probably do see that $26 level on Litecoin. Let me see if there's anything else. Chainlink, yeah, we'll take a look at Chainlink real quick and just see what we got on that one. Yeah, Chainlink is kind of in trouble here. It's starting to potentially break. It's not broken yet. It's right there, but that would be a line that I'd watch. And then if it does break, you'll have some support here. There's a lot of support around 475. Actually, 475 is not a bad level for maybe even a swing. You can see this pivot high here and this area here. And then if it breaks, then you're headed down to $1.50. So again, I wish I knew which one would be. But I could see myself inching into a small position around 450. And then I could always maneuver here with a little bit more 380s and other support. And then eventually you get down to this 180, 170, 150 level. There'll be some support there as well. All right, guys. So again, suffice it to say is that Bitcoin remains kind of in this no man's land, bearish pattern development, maybe a micro bull, but overall this drop, and this is just flagging here. So you got to think there's going to be another down move. Again, 12, 13, 13.5, somewhere in that vicinity. I think that's where you hit a lot of support. So let's keep our eyes on that. And yeah, I think we just continue to focus in. We're getting a little quieter again. There was a period there with a lot of action. But again, quiet now, but quiet is always before the storm, right? Gets quietest before the storm. So I expect a move to come out relatively soon. You can make a case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what this tells us is potentially we're on the verge of a bigger move in crypto, either to the upside or downside, that could come in as early as tomorrow or on Friday. So just be aware of that. That is a potential time count there of consolidation. And we know consolidation sometimes follows the time counts as well. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and thanks as always, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.